it comes as no surprise that Audi reserves the number 8 for the very best that it has to offer. From the superlatively luxurious A8 sedan to the genre-redefining sports car that was the Audi R8.
So when back in 2018, the brand decided to slap the letter 8 onto its Q range of SUVs, it heralded the arrival of a new ringmaster. And that ringmaster is called the Q8. Now the Q8 has been tasked with redefining the parameters of what it means to be a flagship SUV. No longer is sheer outright utility the only key demand. This thing has to have the glamour and the musculation and the sheer brawn of a power cruiser, the towering presence of an SUV, and of course the comfort of a luxury sedan. Take all those attributes and crank it up by a factor of 10 and you get close to understanding what the updated Q8 is all about.
The Q8, which arrived in India in 2020, is truly a product of its era. It's an SUV that's designed to be driven as much as it's designed to be driven in, and so its design has to be reflective of its inherent sportiness.
And so we're here on this gorgeous sunny day in the beautiful city of Cape Town to figure out whether this car, the new updated Audi Q8, has really managed to redefine the parameters of what it means to be a flagship SUV for Audi. Because let's not forget, this is significant not only for what it packs, but what it represents, because all of the smaller Q SUVs do have some of the Q8 DNA. So let me just take you through the changes on the new Q8. They're not that extensive, but they do add to the overall appeal of the car. Starting with the headlamps now, the LED strip is set a little lower than before, and it also runs all the way to the end. So as a result, the car just looks wider. It was already the most aggressive grille to be found on an Audi SUV. In terms of its length, it's still more or less the same. It looks like it's kind of baring its teeth. But the honeycomb pattern here has changed. So the air intakes are now larger. I'm not sure if there's a functional aspect to it, but it does look a bit more aggressive, a bit more sporty, and that's essentially what this car is about. Even the LED animations have changed, and I'm going to show you that in detail, but the overall design pattern is now a little different, a little more aggressive.
And the Q8's LED headlamps and tail lamps even come with all new animations.
And here we have all new alloy designs now. Of course, this one is running on 22s, but you do get optional 23 inches as well. This is a car that will be making its way to India in the second half of 2024. And of course, we're not going to get the top-end SQ8, but this is most likely what people will go for. It's a nice balance between the smaller 21 inches and the 23 inches, which can make the ride a little stiffer.
Then there are the changes at the back, which are all about authenticity, functionality, and sheer good looks.
Now the changes at the back are subtle but effective. You've got the same single sort of running light bar as before, but what has changed, if you take a closer look, is the LED light pattern. It's a lot more symmetrical now, it's a lot less cluttered. And speaking of less clutter, I really like what they've done to the rear bumper. They've cleaned up the design, and a lot of the excess that was to be found here has been removed, along with, thankfully, the presence of 4 tailpipes. Now that's a fairly deplorable aspect of modern luxury car design, and Audi has thankfully taken note of that, and so we have these really chunky exhaust pipes which are functional and are authentic. So it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot tidier, and if it's a view that is in front of you when you're driving, well, you're hardly likely to complain.
Look inside and you cannot find a single element that's shoddy. No cheap plastic, no flimsy material. The Q8 is, much like most Audis, a masterclass in quality control.
Well, not much has changed on the inside, and that's not really a bad thing, because the Q8 was always one of the most well-built and well-furnished cars. Everything here is dipped in the quality sauce. You can see the granular details, right from the double-stitched leather, the sort of glossy black texture of the overall dash, the dual screen setup, and of course what's new to this particular car is this new trim and the new finish that you're going to see very soon. Everything feels very solidly built. There's a sort of insularity and level of fortification that you don't really feel in a lot of its contemporaries actually, and that's really to be commended, and it's become something of a trademark for Audi. This of course is the S line, so all the really nice bits are thrown in, and as a result you feel very fortified, and there's almost a traditional SUV luxury element here that they've not tampered with, probably for the best. What can maybe have changed is the fact that of course there is this 10-inch touchscreen, and while personally I'm not too big a fan of over-the-top, extremely large pillar-to-pillar kind of touchscreens that we are seeing sort of become the norm now, to a lot of people this might not seem like state-of-the-art. Of course it has all the state-of-the-art features that you will need. It has 360-degree camera, it's obviously touch sensitive, but it also has these haptic functions because the screen setup is split in two, and that kind of also gives it a little solidity. You do have to focus on the screen a little more, and personally a lot of people, myself included, do prefer rotary knobs, especially when it comes to adjusting the temperature. But it's so legible and large, and the layout is just so intuitive that you kind of know exactly where to reach within just minutes of driving this car. The seats feel very well bolstered. There's just a certain lavishness to it which is not really there in a lot of its contemporaries. And of course the party piece is right here, the virtual cockpit system which Audi actually debuted, and on international roads where you don't want to take the wrong turn, and particularly when greeted with beautiful views offered by Cape Town, this is really a godsend. And it just allows you to navigate new cities, new terrain much better, and that too remains unchanged.
All of this still falls under the realm of the expected. What wasn't expected, however, was the amount of attention, rubbernecking and thumbs ups that the new Q8 prompted in Cape Town, where I found myself driving the car. Perhaps it's the Q8's new shade of Sakhir gold, with its contrasting black grille, 22-inch alloys and a diffuser that has a way of standing out even when surrounded by some of the most stunning topography the planet has to offer. The Q8's design remains remarkable for its ability to have its character completely altered by a new paint scheme. In a dark Goodwood green, available alas only on the TDI which isn't coming to India, it looks resplendent in an old money Edwardian sort of way. And in the shade of Sakhir gold that is coming to domestic roads, it possesses a sort of contemporary allure that is neither ostentatious nor subtle. Then there's the matter of how this thing drives. Out here on the winding mountain roads of Cape Town, the Q8, which internationally gets rear wheel steering, along with its torquey V6 and quattro all-wheel drive, sticks to the tarmac with remarkable adhesion. V6, creamy as ever, with dollops of torque readily available, offers press and go acceleration.
Front and center is the 3-litre 55 TFSI V6, which is as palpably smooth and robust as ever. It's always been one of Audi's biggest gems, and it comes in this as standard. Now, of course, technically it's the least powerful of the powertrains to be found in the Q8, with the SQ8 getting the big 4-litre V8. That of course won't be coming to India, so we're going to focus all our attention on this one. It makes about 340 brake horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, power figures which remain unchanged even with the new version. And while some of you might scoff at that, when you drive this thing, you really don't feel like there was any need to tinker with the power, and thankfully they haven't done that. throttle response is quick, the copious amounts of torque are always available across the rev band, and just the smoothness and alacrity with which this 8-speed automatic torque converter moves. You don't even miss Audi's trademark dual clutch gearbox. This being an Audi means that despite on-road dynamism being core to its sort of brief, this is still a vehicle that is very capable and adept off-road. It's got air suspension, so you can actually lift it, and of course it's got Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system. So theoretically at least, you can go off-road should you want to, because, well, Quattro is one of the most capable all-wheel drive system, if not the most, in the world at the moment.
The Q8 might be a niche product, but it's significant for Audi India and its customers for one very good reason.
Audi India is currently riding a tidal wave of resurgence, and in the first 6 months of this year alone, the brand has witnessed a 97% year-on-year growth, with 60% of its sales coming from its SUV segment. So of course it goes without saying that the SUV portfolio is vital to the brand. And that makes the Q8 a particularly significant car because it sets the tone for what the Audi Q brand SUVs, at least the ICE models, are going to be like. Because it's ultimately its DNA and the fundamentals that it has that are going to be passed on to smaller models. I mean, even if you look at the new Q3, the resemblance to the Q8 is unmistakable. But more than anything else, the Q8 sort of represents how far the SUV breed has come in the last 10 to 15 years. Back when the Q7 was ruling the roost when it came to luxury SUVs in India, the brief was very different and the demand placed on an SUV was a lot less because, of course, you had performance cars, hot hatches, a whole separate breed of vehicles to take care of particular needs, even in the Indian market. So think of the Q8 as this loaded meatball sandwich with a whole variety of toppings, salami, pickle, jalapeno, whatever it is, just pouring out, and it's a lot to handle and it's quite a mouthful. But once you taste it, well, you really don't want anything else.